Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Pajajana Ranjana. Can I close the door till we're finished? Shodanandana Pajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari and Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari and Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Mustapad Paramahansa Padujikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padujikacharya Ashtotar Tadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Krantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai and Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Well, we have a puzzle. First of all, can we close that because it's getting the car sound. This can open. You can open it. And this can open if it's not open. But Damodar Kumar is using my iPad to write the verse rather than his iPad. Oh, I can use that one. 318. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam and Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Dato Jai Mudiriyet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Thank you. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, we got the verse with no diacritics. Hare Krishna. Well, let's start anyway. Okay. Okay. On this 22nd day of July, 2018, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. And Chapter 4 talks between Lord Shiva and Sati, text number 18. naitadrishanam sujana vyapekshaya grahan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye bhyagatan vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubir amarshanakshibihi naitadrishanam sujana vyapekshaya. Okay, let's try to stay together. Graham vyatiyad anabhastitatmanam vyatiyad anabhastitatmanam ye bhyagatan vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubir amarshanakshibihi. Okay, what to do? No, the main problem is we don't have the diacritics. All right, then we'll go through word for word. Naitadrishanam swa jana vyapekshaya grihan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye bhyagatan vakra diya bhichakshate aropita brubhir amarshanakshibihi naitadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya. All right, we're going to go at a moderate to slow speed. So try to dial it down. We'll get it. Naitadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya. Naitadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya grahan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye bhyagatan vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubir amarshanakshibihi. Okay, chant please. Naitadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya grihan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye pyagatan vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubhiram arshanakshibihi. Naitadvishanam swajana vyapekshaya grihan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye bhyagatam vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubhiram arshanakshibihi. Naitadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya grihan patiyad anabhastitatmanam ye pyagatam vakradiya vichakshate aropitam bhrubhiram arshanakshibihi. Go ahead, Dravida. Naitadrishanam patiyad anabhastitatmanam Epyakatam vakradiya vichakshate. Okay, stop. No more. Set up Maharaj's thing. He said he might come. Please. Na, not. Etadishanam, like this. Swajana, kinsmen. Vyapekshaya, depending on that. Grihan, in the house of. Pratiyat, one should go. Anavastita, disturbed. Atmanam, mind. Ye, those. Abhyagatan, guests. Vaktradiya, with a cold reception. Abhichakshate, looking at. Aropita bhrubihi, with raised eyebrows. Amarshana, angry. Akshibihi, with the eyes. Translation. One should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. Purport. However low a person may be, he is never unkind to his children, wife, and nearest kin. Even a tiger is kind to its cubs, for within the animal kingdom, the cubs are treated very nicely. Since Sati was the daughter of Daksha, however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But here it is indicated by the word anavastita, that such a person cannot be trusted. Tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it is also known that sometimes they eat them. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they are always unsteady. Thus, Sati was advised not to go to her father's house, because to accept such a father as a relative and to go to his house without being properly invited was not suitable. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So, the Vedic wisdom, the Vedic culture, centers on this concept of dharma. Dharma is something that's only present in human life. Dharma hitesham anago vishesho. It's said in the Hitopadesh that we share with the animals eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. After all, we've come up through the animal species. There is a process of evolution, not of the bodies, but of consciousness. So we have a certain animalistic aspect to our body. The eating, sleeping, mating, defending is there. But the distinguishing factor, dharma hitesham adhiko vishesho, is dharma. And without dharma, human life is nothing but animal life. So then the question arises, what is real dharma? And where does dharma reside? You know, what is it? Dharma is bhagavat pranitam. The dharma is enunciated by the Lord. And the 10 or the 12 Mahajans, they carry the dharma. They don't make dharma, but they transmit it purely. That's the idea. And then throughout the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, this concept of dharma is very, very significant. Beginning, we know that Arjuna was away from his dharma, even his swadharma. He wasn't following his Kshatriya spirit. He's ready to go become a sannyasi, or something, a beggar, which is completely out of character. What to speak of eternal dharma, which is what we're all concerned with and what the Bhagavad Gita is ultimately concerned with. So how does this dharma act in controlling this world? It acts by being transmitted, even from parents to their children. This is in any culture. What is the purpose of education? To transmit the culture, to the knowledge, and also moral concepts, which is more or less what Dharma is. In its most refined form, we have Bhagavat Dharma, and Sanatan Dharma. So, in other words, it's a question of consciousness. It's a question of your intelligence being filled with understanding of what is right and what is wrong, what is the best way to act for your ultimate good, and to actually be able to control the lower self, which is your animal self, which is always pulling you away from Dharma toward anger and lust and emotion and all these different things. So especially in human life, it's only in human life, you have that tension between what Freud called the superego, which is what is inculcated in you, and what we call the false ego, the lower self. So what we see here is that Daksha, who is, after all, a very responsible person. He's been given the task and the commission, if you will, to help propagate this universe. He's very powerful. He's got all kinds of good qualities. But he's become completely controlled now, in this instance, in this whole passage, the last few chapters, by his emotions. He's got it in his head that Shiva is a terrible match for his daughter, and he's got all these lists of reasons. You know, he doesn't have a home. He's consorting with bhutas and pretas. You know, he's imagining, I don't want to go even visit my daughter because who knows, maybe some of those bhutas and pretas will be there in the house. You know, whatever. But he's completely got into that, and he's confirmed it with this cursing and this angry and walking out of the sacrifice. So Shiva, who is, of course, he's not even a jiva, he's a Shiva Tattva, he's very nearly Krishna. He understands all this, and he's trying to encourage his wife not to act on her emotions. Her emotions are, oh, all my friends and all my relatives and the cousins and everything, they're having this wonderful soiree at my father's place, and I want to go. You know, it's in the heavenly planet, so they're going in these wonderful airplanes, you know. But Shiva is trying to say, but no, you know, even though it's your father's house, and certainly you can go unannounced, but we know from experience that he's very inimical to me, and by extension, he's also less favorable to you, and it's very possible that won't show you proper respect and cause you a lot of grief. He's foreseeing what's actually going to happen. So this is a whole lesson. First of all, about how when one gets entangled in these affairs of the lower modes, it's almost like a bomb exploding, or something that's disrupting your life. This word is very significant. Prabhupada calls attention to it, anavastita, right? So stita, we know stita means fixed. Anytime is stita, stira, right? Stita dimuni. So this is anavastita, not fixed. His self, his mind is disturbed. That means anything can happen. You know, Daksha may control himself and be happy to see his daughter, and everything will be fine. You know, he'll self-control. But we've seen from experience that he's not very good at that. And so Shiva foresees the danger, how her hopes of having a nice meeting with her friends and relatives and cousins and father and everything will be dashed, and she'll become hurt. She'll become devastated emotionally, and who knows what else will happen. And we know what happens. She becomes, you know, she awakens her power, yogic power, and she self-immolates. This is the first sati. This is where the sati right comes in. You know. So this is a central point of the Bhagavad Gita when you're thinking about it, just reading the second chapter and the third chapter. The whole point of yoga, of Krishna consciousness, is to control that mad mind, is to somehow get control of the mind, which is the repository of all of these lower emotions and this emotion, and this, you know, sensory platform. The mind is like the sixth sense. So what is our only hope as human beings? To strengthen the intelligence, but basically through hearing. First and foremost, through hearing the Shastra, and through hearing the realized soul, through sound vibration. And by that strengthened intelligence, one can hopefully, and have the possibility of controlling the lower self, and using the mind and the senses in the service of Krishna to purify them, so that they're less likely to drag you away. You know how in the second chapter, yes, here's the program, but even a wise man may find that his mind is taken away, just like any of the senses he fixes on, just like a wind will take the mind away. And then he gives this wonderful description in 2 verses of how one can become degraded by coming under the lower modes and under the lower self. What is it? Sangat sanjayate kama. Dhyayato vishayan pungsas sangasteshu bhajayate sangat sanjayate kamat kama kuroda vijayate. So first comes the contemplating of the objects of the senses. Now, unless you know not to contemplate them, then you're obviously going to come under the control, because that's what material life is all about. You get this body, and you have these nice senses, and Maya is providing you with your specific set of attractive sense objects. And in different stages of your life, there's different attractive senses. The little girls and boys, they're not troubled by sex desire. But there's other things. Nowadays, all kinds of games and who knows what, There's so many things attracting. And then comes, the sex life comes up, and as you get older, and that's a huge distraction. The mind, in a sense, is you don't even have any idea that you're supposed to, control that in this culture. It's so degraded. So what happens is that dhyayato means meditation. You become entranced by something that's pleasurable. There's a huge problem with obesity and overweight in the Western. Whenever there's wealth, why? Because these demoniac capitalists, they engineer the food. They're all food engineers. So that, just the right kind of mouthfeel, they have all these things. The smell, the fragrance, the crunch, of the specific chip that you're eating, whatever it may be. And basically salt, sugar, and fat, different combinations, right? And so people become addicted. And the next time they even hear the word Doritos or whatever, their mouth starts watering. Yeah, we can buy it. And they think they're free, but they're completely controlled. This is the age we live in. So then you become attracted, and you actually engage. And when you do that, then the desire increases, and you become addicted. Means that the lower self is totally controlling the higher self. And then, when you can't get it, then comes karma. It's so strong that then when you can't get it, you're angry. Now that anger can take different forms. If you're frustrated and you can't express it, you'll get depressed and, I got no money, I can't buy my Doritos. Or more seriously, I have no money, I can't buy my drugs, and so I'm going to go steal my mother's money. So many kids, they're 18, oh, thanks for coming home. What happened to my TV? Isn't it? It happens all the time. The opioid crisis. So this is now this is far from Krishna consciousness, but we should know this is how the mind works. This is what's going on. So the basic principle is that this lower self becomes very powerful, and the higher self is just helpless. So that lower self is you can say part of it is emotion, gross emotion. If you're always acting on emotion, then the mind and intelligence are helpless. They're in that chariot, but you're not in control, and the poor helpless self is being victimized. So that's what's happening here. Is that Sati is being moved by emotion, and Shiva is trying to be the higher intelligence to control it. But ultimately, the emotion prevails. The lesson is that she goes, and we know the result of that is that the disaster happens, and her father is anything but welcoming, and she becomes, that's it, no more. I don't want to have this body which is connected to you. So you see, the result of it is, it spins out of control and causes havoc. Now we can see that in today's world with this little history, like 100 years of history, going back to World War I, and then World War II, and unfortunately, unless Krishna really directly intervenes, World War III, which looks like we're on the verge. I mean, people are saying, those who know, it's as dangerous now as it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Most of you don't remember. Maharaj remembers. You remember. I remember vividly. It was like suddenly, we can all die any minute. Anyone know Bob Dylan? Everyone knows Bob Dylan, right? So he wrote a song, and a hard rain is going to fall. I don't know if you've ever heard that song. I used to listen to that. I didn't know what it was about at the time. But about 10 years ago, he was sitting in New York, and it's about the imminent explosion of, the hydrogen bombs and destroying, New York City and everything else. It was during the missile crisis he wrote that. So, how does it start? It starts with the lower self. It starts with demons, means the lower self is controlling. That's the demonic mentality. Krishna, says, what is the mentality? Ishwaroham. Who is this God? Asatyam jagadahu anisharam. They declare and they believe, they've convinced themselves there is no ultimate God in control. Life after death? No, 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 no. No, everyone knows that's not true, right? They're afraid to think of that. So, in that mentality, they come on and we have so many examples in Bhagavatam, and Ishwaroham aham bogi, siddhoham balavan sukhi. This is their mantra. I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. And then Krishna goes on, I didn't know the Sanskrit, so much wealth have I got today, so much I will get tomorrow. Isn't that what's going on? It's absolutely obscene. This one guy who runs Amazon, and I have to confess I do buy on Amazon, $150 billion and counting. The B. Yeah, with a B. He's heading toward 200 billion. He's like the richest man in the world. What the heck can you do with all that money? We could build 1,000 temples. It would be great, But anyway, it's obscene. And he's not alone. There's other guys, the 1/10 of 100th of 1%. They just suck up the money. This is what they do. They vacuum it all up. And then you have 2 billion people or more living on the edge, $2 a day or less, So this is the end disease or state of this mentality. It all starts with how much can I make today? How much can I make tomorrow? I can invest this. I'll exploit this person, and even I'll kill these people. This is how it goes. It takes over everything. It makes you a sociopath. No heart, no empathy. Now, just see the devotee's mentality is just the opposite. Right? That's why it's so important to live as simply as possible. If money comes into your hands, if you're wealthy, fine, use it for Krishna. It doesn't have to be contaminating, but it often is. I was reading, we're reading here. This is what the last verse was about, wasn't it? Yes, vidyat apo vitta vabhurva yakulai. Oftentimes it's these 4 opulences. Janmaishoya Shuta Shibir. Right? Well, this adds 2 more. Vidya tapo vitta vapurvaya. Vidya, knowledge, austerity, ability to, that's like renunciation. Vit is wealth, vapur is beauty, vaya is youth. Everyone wants to be young, and kulai, good birth, a nice heritage. So these things, Prabhupada says in the Purport, are often impediments. If you have all these, then the tendency is, if you're in materialistic association, to enjoy them to the hilt. That's what we're all about here. But devotees know that if we possess these things, then we have to use them in Krishna's service. Otherwise, they will be sources of degradation. That's a fact. So when you voluntarily agree, just like the beauty aspect, it's so great, This is our, our fashion, right? If they match, then that's something. That's it. How much does your wardrobe actually cost? How much does your wardrobe cost? Is it probably under $100?
You buy in Delhi, cotton hunting in Brazil, probably $15.
$15 for a dhoti? Or for what he's wearing?
$5 for a dhoti, $5 for a kurta, and we're throwing a little paddock for the trail.
Yeah, well, you may have 2 or 3 sets. Anyway, the point is, it's ridiculously, you don't worry about it.
And it's always in stock.
And you know, I was how much money have I saved in haircuts over 50 years? Thousands and thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000. So the point is, do you miss it? No. You know, if you're Krishna conscious, it's like a huge relief. Oh, I don't have to worry about that. You're out of the game. You're out of the game of trying to somehow impress this person, that person, and attract them, and this and that. And how much anxiety does that produce? Oh my God. You know, I've got, you know, on the women's side, I've got this bag. It only costs $500, and she's wearing it has a $1,000 bag. You know, my life is ruined. Madness, right? So that's what the devotees, even the householders, to live simply. Don't exaggerate your so-called needs, and especially don't go into debt to try to meet them. You know, this is what they try to do. So. That's you know, that this is the lesson that Shiva is preaching here, and he's warning her that you can't trust that when someone gets under the control of that lower self, you can't trust them. I was just reading Krishna book where I was describing how Vasudeva, you know, he starts out so hopeful. He's got his wife, you know, Devahudi there, not Devahudi, Draupadi, Devaki. I'm sorry, and they're newly married. And the friendly father, uncle is, you know, driving the chariot. You know, everything's very nice. And suddenly, the omen in the sky, you know, says, "Oh, you're such a fool, Kamsa, that the eighth son of Devaki will kill you." So immediately he changes. You know, he forgets all of his relationship here. He forgets how it'll look if he chops off the head of his you know, of Devaki during her marriage. You know. That's ultimately the appeal. When Vasudeva has to think quick on his feet, how can I save the situation? And he starts preaching to him, and he says, and it'll look really bad, you know, but that's not enough. Finally he says, don't worry, I'll deliver all the sons, right? And he played on the fact that he was known to be very, very ethical, and he would always keep his promises. So Kamsa had a quick calculation, yeah, it'll look really bad, you know, if I get and anyway, you know, it's not her directly, so I'll just postpone, you know. So that's how he saved the situation. But the point is that in a second, he was ready to destroy any familiar relation just to preserve his life. This is the demon's thing. And so therefore, because they're unsteady, you can't trust the materialists. You can't, you know, they can promise this and then break the promise. And we see it all over the society today. America promised, you know, when the Cold War ended and suddenly the Soviet Union collapsed, America promised, we promise, we're not going to move NATO closer to Russia, you know, so you can, and then as soon as they got a chance, boom, they're doing it. You know, it works on a macro scale. We won the war, we should control the world. You know, what about space? We should put weapons in space. It was recognized. Do we really want the atom bombs and the hydrogen bombs flowing over in the side? You know, they had these treaties, but now they're all going by the wayside. You know, we're going to arm space. So and then what happens is the unexpected happens, the unintentional happens, and creates havoc. You know, we're sitting here by the grace of Krishna because there's been 30 or 40 near misses of Armageddon in the last 50 years. Somehow, it hasn't happened yet. And it won't happen, right? Because the Sankirtan movement is spreading. Prabhupada said, the war is coming. But, if you do book distribution in the Sankirtan, then that's how you can stop it. That's what he said back in the 70s. I'm sorry? I don't know the exact quote. It very well may be. I've never heard this. But here we are. We're sitting here, you know. So this is very, on our individual level, this is a very important thing. Now then, and one other thing here, and that is the lesson, you know, Daksha's big mistake of judging Shiva by externals and not realizing his exalted nature. So, isn't that part of the Upadeshamrita? Drishtai svabhava janitai vabhajasa dosha, that one who is a real devotee, he doesn't judge others, other devotees, on the basis of the external principle. The main thing is the birth. You know, that when there's certain classes, we know for many, many years now it's ending by court order, that the priests of the Jagannath temple would never let anyone with a white skin into the temple. Oh no? Yeah, you couldn't go inside the temple. You have to wait till the Ratha Yatra you can see Jagannath. You didn't know that? Some of our dark-skinned devotees, I know, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj got in. Dressed himself up as a Hindu, dark Hindu, was able to get in. It's the worst kind of racism. What kind of mentality is that? So it says what mentality? Arche Vishnav Shiladu Guru Shanadapati Vaishnave Jati Buddhir. The judge of Vaishnav, according to the birth, you have the hellish mentality. You're already a resident of hell. This is what this verse says. To see the deity as stone, to see the holy name as just another sound, the water that washes that we make Sharanamrita, which is from the lotus feet, to see it as ordinary water. In other words, to have a completely materialistic view of all of these sacred things. You're already living in hell, according to this verse from the Padma Purana. So we should be very, we should apply it. Don't judge devotees by their color or by their externals, but by their qualities and by their activities. This is how it's guna and karma. And another factor, especially for devotees, the sounds they produce. It says you can recognize a great soul by the nectar sounds that are emanating from his mouth. And not just the words, but the feeling. In other words, the actual state. And you can confirm by how they act. If they're saying one thing, Prabhu would condemn constantly the bhagawatsaptaha, 7-day readings of Bhagavatam. You can't even read one verse in months. He spoke that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gave lectures on the first verse of the Bhagavatam for several months. What to speak of 7 days? Of course, Pariksit did it. That's another situation. But to imitate that, and what did they hear? Basically, rasa dance, which is completely unbona fide. So that's some of the lessons from these verses, and the main one is it's almost like a tragedy that's occurring here, like a Greek tragedy, where Sati, moved by emotion, will go to see her father, expecting love and getting cold. What is the word here? Vakra diyam. Vakra means oppositional mentality, unkindness. For what? Because she's married to Shiva, and then she'll do what she was able to do, which is to sever that relationship by self-immolation, and then after that, a lot of havoc takes place. So we can take some of these lessons. Okay, I'm going to read this verse again, the English. One should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed, in other words, the man in the house, is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. Any discussion? Yes, Maharaj.
Just before that, we were talking about, how someone
Oh.
Southern cultures, and this is some years ago, it's only increased. Somehow or other, Southern culture read something that had a number over the 9 top industrial nations spend on defense.
Uh-huh.
That's war.
Yeah, they call it a bit.
And he took the total number, he broke it down, that's what they spend in a year.
Uh-huh.
He broke it down to what they spend in 1 minute,
Uh.
60 seconds. And it's enough money to put on a Rath Yatra the size of LA. And that's assuming the high number though, $65,000.
Uh-huh.
So we could put, if we had what we spend in 1 minute, we could put on 100 Rath Yatras. Picture 100 cities, you'd be hard pressed to think of 100 cities. I was hard. And we could put on a Rath Yatra the size of the LA Rath Yatra every day for 1 year in 100 cities.
Wow.
Can you imagine for a moment the impact on the world of 100 cities having a Rath Yatra, Prashadam distribution, book distribution, parade, cards, every day in 100 cities? It'd just be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
This.
I was sitting in Prabhu's room one night,
Uh-huh.
and Prabhu said, Krishna can give you the whole. Krishna of the
18 days.
Okay, 18 days. Prabhu said in 18 days, Yudhishthira Maharaj was the ruler of the world. Prabhu said Krishna can do the whole world in 18 days. Prabhu said, why 18 days? 18 hours. And Prabhu sat back and looked at us and said, but what we do is single seed. So you can say, well, they've got so much money, but the question is, we have to grow up.
Yeah.
Krishna will give us facility. When we're mature, and we can't even keep down with clean or our doties on, or go in 2 lines on our now, he's not going to give us billions of dollars.
Yeah. I have to.
He's proud of all this.
I have to take that to heart. To keep my dhoti on. I was jumping up too much and it was starting to untangle. And luckily, Damodar Kumar, he warned me.
No, you were but I have my question.
Go ahead.
You're talking about this syndrome in different, it leads to entanglement, all the problems that both individually develop.
Yeah.
Now, we're not, so I speak for myself, I'm not a free person. So these same tendencies will manifest from time to time in devotional service. Can you give some examples of how it manifests in devotional service and how we can watch out for this same downward spiral?
Well, sure. I mean, Prabhupada set up this morning program. He set up ISKCON, and it's centered on, the sadhana, right? Sadhana bhakti. And it's a very full and wholesome program. It's actually based on these 5 most important processes that Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Chanting the holy name, associating with devotees, worshipping the deity, hearing srimadbhagavatam, and living in a holy place. So, we have an advantage. Some don't live in the temple, but still can take advantage of it, of the association, and can participate at, whatever they could do. So, that program, now of course, it's what you bring to it. You can be sitting and doing japa and your mind can be a million miles away. We know that from, but if you apply yourself and you're in good consciousness, then that's going to inspire you to do some service. You're going to feel the impetus. Yeah, now I want to do my service. You feel some enthusiasm. But because of conditioning, because of the environment, because of so many things, the mind gets distracted. And the modes of nature, distracted from Krishna's lotus feet, distracted from your Guru's lotus feet, from your firm determination. It's just the modes are like an infection. And in that mood, you're still doing it. It's not like you bloop because of that. But you're doing it with less enthusiasm, and even maybe if it gets really bad, some kind of little bit of resistance and resentment. And that can manifest in many ways. More sleep, more eating, This is our field, we have complete independence. I can take another big helping of halva or not. It's either or. And oftentimes that has its, it will have its effect on your enthusiasm, your ability to do your service. So that's the battle that we have. Of being steady in sadhana and strengthening the higher self, the intelligence, and our moral sense, remembrance of our duty and all of these things, so that we can say no when these temptations come to deviate from what we know is right. And to come to the point of being, what is it? Rupa Goswami says, it's interesting, he said, Utsahanishayadaryat. Well, here's the positive 6 things, right? Enthusiasm, patience, determination, in the matter of performing all of the things of devotion service, tat karma pravartana, and then not associating with materialists, and following in the footsteps of the great saints and sages. So now some of those are obviously within our will. You can say, well, I'm not going to associate here, in this way, and through gross or subtle with non-devotees, and I'm going to learn how the great devotees have acted. I'm going to follow that, and you can do it. Some of them think, well, how can I force myself to be enthusiastic? Enthusiasm is something that wells up or doesn't. And this is where it becomes key to say, well, okay, I may not be enthusiastic in the kirtan. I'm there, and I'm hearing, but it's not, my mind is disturbed today, and so I'm not going to dance, But the fact is that the way that the body also affects the mind. If you're dancing, before Krishna, and of course Super Soul is there also, and you're chanting, you'll find you become enthusiastic. Try it sometime. It's you come into the just like today is Sunday, so there'll always some newcomers who come, or some people who come every so often. They're not really totally committed, but they're interested. Some devotees, they chant 2 rounds a day or something. Fine. So they come into the temple. Why do they come to the temple? Because they know that in the temple the atmosphere is so uplifting and spiritual that they'll get affected by it. So the fact is that we're battling with it every day, even every moment of our devotional lives, because of our previous conditioning, until we're on the steady platform and on the pure platform, and it becomes naturally. This is what spontaneous devotion means. As spontaneous as it is to, on a fast day, to dig into that first helping of wonderful offered sabji from the Sringadev. That you don't have to train someone to do that, As spontaneous as that is, it will be spontaneous to chant the holy name, and to glorify Krishna, and to clean everything up, because we don't want, that's the mode of ignorance. Clean it all perfect. It's possible, because you're purified. So, I think, did I deal somewhat with your question? I think, yeah, that's it. All right, any other discussion? Go ahead, Ed.
That is the only thing that simulates what people experience when they eat a hamburger.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all plant-based.
Yeah.
And then a comment that said, it seems that the reason people don't completely embrace vegetarian eating is it's a matter of taste. It's not a question of animal rights and all that. I mean, they can care less.
Yeah, yeah.
Animals are going to be exploited. That's part of the thing. But if it tastes right, oh, well, that's okay. I'll have it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how that they're doing that.
Yeah. Well, because there's a market. In other words, after all these years, there's a market. There's a market. There's a lot of. Yeah. Yeah. The demand is there, and if they're going to fill it. The thing is that that can only take us so far. Meaning that dukkha aushadam tadapi dukkam. Prahlad says the remedy for the misery will cause more misery. They'll find that whatever it will become cheaper, just like with the opioid thing. All right, these cartels, they just lowered the heroin price till now people are getting drugged. So the media just say, okay, we'll just produce it cheaper, so there'll be something. There has to be that spiritual element. There has to be, Krishna kindness. Why you're doing it, and yeah. But it's interesting. Go ahead.
I've actually found with vegetarian diets that if you don't have a foundation, here's the foundation. It doesn't really last that long. That's just
Yeah.
for animal rights purposes, but because of that association with growing up
Exactly.
or high school, it's difficult to maintain that unless you're doing it because, okay, I'm trying to understand myself and relationship with God. If that's not the foundation, it's extremely impossible to maintain.
Yeah, it is generally, and also the idea of offering the food and what Krishna wants. Yeah, it's typical flickering mind. Bhoga tyaga. Oh, one more.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I just want to share one of my experiences with bhakti spirituality. Actually, not practically every day, before I go out
Uh-huh.
to this group, I'm always feeling tired, thinking maybe I should take a day off, not to go out.
Uh-huh.
But somehow or other I convince myself to go out. And as soon as I'm out and start to
Yeah.
That's really, what you are saying, is just by doing, naturally you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's true of many services.
Yeah.
Actually, when we went out on Friday, I was thinking, good grief! I know it's going to be at least $40 for the parking. I don't know if how that's going. I'll just drop them off, and then they can call me, because I know they need the car, so they'll call me when they need the pickup, and I'll somehow park somewhere, pick them. And then Damodar Kumar chipped in for the parking, and I said, okay, we'll go. I mean, we used to go out every Friday. Even for Harinam, there's a reluctance. People. We have so many people in the community. I mean, in Chakra, Ed made the effort, right? But there's this thing. Oh, okay, and parking, and but then when you get into it, for me, it was like, oh, what a relief, especially when you have a crowd like that. It's like, huh? It wasn't my idea. The guy said, come on. The bouncer, or whoever the guy was on the outside, I said, okay, we're good. I checked with you. But I don't know if you remember, way back when, there used to be one place where we would go in all the time. I don't think it was that place. But it was a classic. The point is that once you actually do the devote, Krishna gives you so much from within, and he's giving you the intelligence and the enthusiasm and giving you the nectar. It just goes for chanting too. When I was in Toronto, they had me do a little japa seminar. Just like a half hour of japa for a lot of new people. They had beads and everything, cards and everything. And these are people who made the trouble to come to the festival, so they're not completely new people. And it was such a variety. I was looking at one lady. It was like she wasn't into it at all. She was like, I don't know. She looked at her watch. It was like this is brainwashing. She was like completely blocked off. There was one kid who came who'd never chanted before, and it was like, oh, how do I do it? And what's the way of doing it? He was receptivity. So it was relishing it. The whole thing. So but once you are in an environment where you're actually doing it, then the sound affects you and everything, the prasadam and the association and the spark awakens. That was Prabhu's genius. Okay, if I got to bang this bongo drum in the Bowery, this is what I'm going to do. Try to get him going, And sure enough, there Mukunda Maharaj wandered in, and before you know, you have 26th Avenue. It's entirely like that. So we, consciously, when the temptation says, well, let me cut back, slack back, say, no, let me be very strict and be on time and do the right thing, because eventually you get to the steady platform. Okay, it says low battery, gotta close. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.